Thank you all for arriving today. It is 9 o'clock and I'm going to call ARSA to order. May we please have roll call?
Chair, we still don't have a lawyer in the off.
Oh, lawyers. There he is. Come on, legal. May we please have roll call?
Chair Ariscotta,
Here.
Vice Chair Downs,
Here.
Regent Batista. Here. Regent Brown,
Present.
Regent Del Carlo.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Fantastic. Before beginning, we take a moment to recognize that here in Nevada, we stand on the land of the Washishu, the Washoe, the Numu, it's Northern Paiute, the Nuwe, the Western Shoshone, and the Nuwu, the Southern Paiute. We take a moment to recognize and honor their stewardship that continues into today. With this recognition, we state an intention to rightfully include their voice and respect them as the 27 tribal nations of Nevada. As we move on to public comment, is there any public comment today? We do have a couple. Please come on up.
Good morning, members of the ARSA committee. I'm Jennifer McClendon. For the record, I'm the chair of the UNR Faculty Senate. The UNR Faculty Senate has reviewed the proposed intellectual property changes outlined on the ARSA agenda, and we've been in consultation with the Office of the Vice President for Research and Innovation on this issue. After review, the UNR Senate supports the revised royalty distribution formula. We believe the proposal reflects a thoughtful balance and is consistent with practices at many of our peer institutions. Faculty particularly appreciate the creation of a proof of concept fund to support early stage research and innovation, as well as the hold harmless provision protecting existing agreements and current faculty. We've been grateful for the transparency surrounding this proposal and for the many opportunities that faculty have had to engage in discussion as it moved through the process. Regarding a separate agenda item on the consent agenda, UNR's faculty also value investments that strengthen Nevada's workforce, expand research capacity, and create new opportunities for students. The proposed veterinary school represents an exciting opportunity to help address statewide shortages in veterinary care while supporting Nevada's agricultural, rural, and wildlife communities. Faculty look forward to working alongside campus and community partners as this proposal continues to develop. Thank you so much for your time and consideration.
Good morning. I'm Bill Payne, Dean of the College of Agriculture, Biotechnology, and Natural Resources here at UNR for more than 12 years. Nevada, as you know, currently lacks a full Doctor of Veterinary Medicine program. Nonetheless, UNR's existing infrastructure and expertise position it uniquely to launch one. Establishing a School of Veterinary Medicine would address the school's veterinary shortage. Cabner offers a Bachelor of Science in Veterinary Science through its 4-year pre-professional program designed specifically to prepare students for DVM programs nationwide. Graduates have an outstanding record of acceptance in top DVM programs. It is one of our most highly enrolled undergraduate programs. Cabner also has programs in animal science, wildlife management and ecology, and nutrition. We have several faculty who are veterinarians. Through its Nevada Agricultural Experiment Station, Cabner has resources that can contribute to a vet school, including animal researchers, working farms and ranches, and cattle and sheep herds. It also has a new state-of-the-art classroom and laboratory facility designed to handle large animals and traditional classrooms to teach animal anatomy and physiology. Through its University of Nevada Cooperative Extension, Cabner has animal specialists trained to interact with the public, an equestrian center, and a pipeline of future veterinarians in 4-H who are learning to care for large and small animals. They can be seen now at the Nevada State Fair, which begins today. When we recently worked to secure Nevadan seats in the Utah State Vet School with then State Senator Gokachia, now Regent Gokachia, it was clear that the lack of veterinarians in the state is not a blue, red, or urban-rural issue. We know that many Nevadans who want to be vets leave the nation for undergraduate education to avoid paying out-of-state tuition, and most don't come back. To conclude, UNR, with Cabinet's full participation, is well placed to establish a much-needed vet school in Nevada, and I urge your support. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Dr. Ben Weigler. I'm the attending veterinarian for University of Nevada, Reno. I'm also director of the Office of Animal Resources, adjunct professor in AVRS, Dean Payne's College. I'm representing 10 faculty veterinarians here at UNR. I also have with me Dr. Mike Teglis. He's next. We're here to support the agenda item number 8 regarding a veterinary school for UNR. We have experience studying and teaching at over 12 veterinary colleges in the United States and overseas. I'd like to read to you a letter we gave to the Provost Office regarding this item. And it does say, this letter intends to provide you our enthusiastic support for the NSHE Board of Regents to approve a veterinary school based here at the University of Nevada, Reno. Over the past month, we have met twice to share our collective ideas and experiences gained from teaching and service roles at a multitude of veterinary schools in the U.S. and overseas. We believe it should further catalyze the university's set of strengths toward establishing a veterinary school here with the knowledge that we already have 10 faculty members who possess advanced training in veterinary medicine. And many of us have taught classes here and elsewhere in the topics specifically required by the AVMA's educational program standards for accreditation. I myself am doubly board certified in laboratory animal medicine as well as preventive veterinary medicine. This experience provides the university a large set of specially trained, academically oriented, and accomplished veterinarians immediately available for the efficient and strategic development of its own professional veterinary curriculum and associated facilities. Altogether, we offer substantial clinical research and teaching experience spanning the range of studies and species essential for veterinary schools at the individual and population level of healthcare. Our existing research programs mirror that breadth and provide the university additional strengths, since this is another parameter necessary for AVMA accreditation. That is, you must have a research program to be accreditable, and we do. As you know, the pre-professional program, reiterating Dean Payne's comments, is very strong here with approximately 222 undergraduate students enrolled in the pre-veterinary program, which is another indicator of our active engagement in a variety of these same curriculum topics.
Thank you so much. We apologize, but
Thank
your
you.
2 minutes is up on public comment.
Thank you very much.
You had a great amount of endorsement. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Mike Teglis, and I serve as the, the chair of the Department of Agriculture, Veterinary, and Rangeland Sciences here at UNR. I wanted to share with you a fun fact that I learned recently. Wyoming, the least populous state in the nation, has 1 licensed veterinarian per 800 people. In comparison, Nevada has 1 licensed veterinarian per every 2,230 people. And for the past 20 years, I've had the privilege to work with a large number of talented Nevada students that have had to leave the state to obtain their veterinary education. These students often pay high out-of-state tuition rates, and many of them do not come back. Nevada produces a big pool of well-educated, passionate students that would benefit tremendously by having access to a quality veterinary education in the state that they call home. The reintroduction of agricultural pests such as old world screwworm underscores the need to have veterinarians working on the front line against animal disease in the communities in which we grow our food. As Nevada's land grant institution, UNR already has existing infrastructure at the main station field lab and on campus that can be adapted to serve as teaching resources for training future large animal veterinarians. I urge the Board of Regents to vote in support of establishing a public veterinary school in Nevada. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, Regents. My name is Sarah LaFrance, Chair of the Nevada Research and Innovation Corporation, NVRIC for short. I'm a lifelong entrepreneur and have had multiple successful business exits. Throughout my career, I have worked to transform promising ideas into products, companies, and economic opportunities. As chair of NVRIC, I serve alongside fellow board members who volunteer their time and expertise without compensation because we believe in advancing innovation and entrepreneurship in Nevada. I'm here today to support the proposed royalty distribution formula before you. This proposal is the result of nearly 2 years of thoughtful deliberation and collaboration involving faculty, faculty senate, fiscal officers, Senate leadership, and administrators from institutions across Nevada and the system of higher education. The formula before you represents a carefully negotiated consensus reached through a good faith process designed to balance multiple important interests. The proposed 40% share of net income allocated to inventors remains highly competitive and demonstrates a strong commitment to recognize and reward innovation by NSHE faculty, staff, and students. At the same time, dedicating a portion of the revenues to a proof of concept fund creates a sustainable mechanism to support the next generation's discoveries. Early stage activities such as prototype development, validation studies, and market assessment are often the critical steps that move an innovation from the laboratory to the marketplace. Investing in these efforts strengthens Nevada's innovation ecosystem and increases opportunities for future inventors. It also creates potential for revenue for the institutions. It is important to note that neither NEDVRC or its volunteer board of members receives or retains any of these funds. The Proof of Concept Fund remains with the university to support future innovations and commercialization activities. My support for this proposal is not based on any financial consideration. It is based on my belief that this formula reflects a fair, balanced, and sustainable approach developed through a very inclusive process. Reasonable people may prefer different percentages. This is understandable. However, I believe it is important to honor the consensus that emerged after extensive engagement across our institutions. Trust and shared governance matters. The many individuals who participated in this effort did so in good faith, and preserving confidence in that collaborative process is essential. The proposed formula appropriately rewards inventors, supports academic units, advances institutional priorities, and invests in future innovation. It represents a thoughtful and sustainable approach that will strengthen Nevada's research and innovation enterprise for
Ma'am,
many years to come.
you have great information, ma'am, but your 2
Okay,
minutes.
well, I'm at the very end, so thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Uh-huh.
You condensed it all, a lot of good information. We really appreciate it. Thank you to all the public speakers today. As we as a committee going to move on to agenda item number 2, which are consent items. Consent items, we have our minutes and
Chair Aristotle, did we see if we had any public comment over the
oh,
telephone?
thank you very much. Good thing you're done eating. All right, yes. SCS, is there public comment on the phone?
Yes, there is.
Thank
Caller with a
you.
number ending in 1985. Press *6 to unmute. State and spell your name for the record, and you have 2 minutes to address the board.
Thank you. And we'll also, at the very end, we'll go to the 2 locations, other locations.
Awesome. Can you guys hear me all right?
We sure can.
Okay, awesome. Hi, everybody. My name is Alexis Marin, ALEXISMARIN, and I'm with the Children's Advocacy Alliance. I am the health policy manager. I just wanted to let you guys know that I'm in support of agenda items 3 and 5 for the UNLV Bachelor's of Science in Children's Behavioral Health Psychology, and also the PsyD program. I know that I submitted a letter of support with about 15 other organizations that signed on to our letter of support. I sent that to Carrie. But yeah, I just wanted to let you guys know that I am really in support of these programs. I recognize that our state is like 51st in mental health, and I know for a fact that these programs are going to be phenomenal just for our entire state and for the children. And yeah, and I know that we have great leaders underway too, leading these programs. I know that Dr. Michelle Paul is doing incredible work, and I know there's just a lot of good stuff to come. So we dive more deeply into it on our sign-on letter that I got to Carrie. The website was a little bit inaccessible to submit, so I wasn't able to submit it on there, but I did send it to Carrie. But yeah, just highly in support of this program, agenda item 3 and 5. And yeah, thank you guys so much, and I wish you guys a great day.
Thank you very much. SES, is there any other public comment on the phone?
That is all the callers at this time.
Thank you very much. I was just notified that all the other locations there's no public comment. All right, now we're gonna transition to agenda item number 2, which are the consent items. Consent items, we have A through Echo with our minutes and 4 program eliminations. Is there any comments, questions regarding the minutes or the program eliminations from the committee? None heard. Is there a motion on the table? Yeah. Motion for approval from Regent Del Carlo.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you. Regent Del Carlo first, Regent Allen second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed? Moving on. We're jumping on to agenda item number 3. And before we continue, I just want to let you all know, I am not looking at my phone for any other reason. I have all my notes from everything, and they're not corresponding with my iPad. So if it looks like I'm looking at my phone, it's not because I'm texting anybody, because I'm not. All right, but we want to start off with agenda item number 3, the program proposal for the Bachelor of Science in Children's Behavioral Health Psychology at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. And we have our own clinical psychologist at the podium. Please, Interim President Hevy.
Thank you, Chair Arascata, Vice Chair Downs, member of the board, Chris Hevy, Interim President of UNLV, here to request approval of the bachelor degree in Children's Behavioral Health Psychology. Before I do, I want to just briefly introduce our new provost, Dr. Lakshmi Reddy, who joined us just 7 days ago. So Senior Vice Provost Corrigan and I are giving him the day off. But he's a terrific new addition to our campus. We're very excited about the 2 programs in mental health that we're bringing forward today, starting with this one. And I want to start by thanking the many people, or some of the many people, who have come together to work very hard in creating this proposal, including the chair of our Department of Psychology, Dr. Christopher Carney, Michelle Paul, our Assistant Vice President for Mental and Behavioral Health, Brian Knutson, the Mayor Pro Tem of the City of Las Vegas, who's a strong advocate for children's mental health, Tara Raines, who was with now is with the Balmer Institute. She's had a couple different positions, but it's a great supporter. Rochelle Wynn, who championed SB 165. Marcia Turner, our Vice Chancellor for Health Affairs from the system, and the Children's Health Advocacy Network. All of them are in strong support, as was indicated in the proposal. And this degree is essentially a step forward in creating a new profession in Nevada that will have bachelor's level providers of what we call tier 1 interventions for children with mental health needs, including identifying children with mental health needs so that they can get early supportive help and assessments, and then some higher levels of care if that is needed. It's an institute or an effort that's been done in supported by the Balmer Institute from Oregon that started this effort to create this new profession. And we've moved very fast as a state to create the licensure structure to give these new professionals licenses to be active in settings where children are across the state. And we're excited to be working in partnership with the University of Nevada, Reno, and Great Basin College, who we expect to also offer parallel programs in coming months to be able to make sure that we're producing enough professionals in this area to serve the needs of the state. And so happy to answer any questions. This is an exciting new program that will help us. As the caller noted, we're sort of last in the country in mental health professionals. And so we need to crank out more people who are qualified to support the mental health needs of our community, especially children. And this will focus on children with neurodevelopmental challenges. So happy to answer any questions that people may have.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Dr. Hevy. Are there any questions? Regent Carlo.
I don't have a question. I just want to be very commendable that you guys saw this great need in Nevada for mental health for children. And I'm so glad you're doing it. And I really appreciate that you're collaborating with your favorite sister institution and NSU. We couldn't have enough people graduate in this to help our state. I mean, to be last in the country is nothing to be proud of, and we've got to turn that around. So this is a first step, so thank you.
Thank you.
Great comment. Anyone else? I just have a few items. items that we already discussed, President Heavey. Right out of the chute on section A on page 2, the University of Nevada, Las Vegas impressively states a balance with a balanced treatment with particular focus on addictions and exposures to substances. Please highlight, please, if you could, please highlight, especially on that 6th semester, some of the classes of the proposal focusing on addictions and exposures to substances. That goes down to page 20, or some of the classes.
All right. Yeah, so this program will be housed in the Department of Psychology at UNLV that already has substantial expertise in the treatment of children, but we will be creating new courses that will focus on these, as I mentioned, the neurodevelopmental impacts of children who have been exposed to substances, either in utero or, during their early periods of their development. And so the program will be bringing in people to develop these new courses. I have Dr. Michelle Paul here, our Assistant Vice President, who could probably speak more in depth if you want to hear more about the nature of those kinds of courses and the training that will happen at this undergraduate level. If you'd like me to bring her up.
Sure.
All right, Dr. Michelle Paul.
Hi, Michelle Paul, for the record. Good morning. Nice to see you. So, taking things back a little bit, the program was funded by a Fund for a Resilient Nevada initially, as was SB 165 in general. So, the curriculum is meant to train specifically the students in what is substance abuse? How do we mitigate the impact of substance abuse? How do we also identify early the impacts, the neurodevelopmental impacts of substance abuse, impacting the in utero? And then how to also identify what are called ACEs, adverse childhood events, that are often surrounding children and families where substance abuse is a stressor and a driver of problems for the families. So I don't have specific syllabi for the curriculum, but broadly speaking, the idea is to teach the students specific skills in assessment and intervention, specifically around opioid abatement and supporting families and children who have been impacted negatively by substance use.
Thank you.
Does
Very
that
well. Really
help answer the
appreciate-
question?
No, you did. Spot on. Really well done. I know that we're going to be sticking tight to our time, so we'll have 3 minutes and 24 seconds. And so, if I can have both y'all up there, if you don't mind, on page 15, on section G, golf, of the projected headcount and full-time enrollment, and is the first fall semester headcount optimistically based on students and human services and or social work, or we'll switch majors? Because that first fall semester headcount of 100 students, is that low?
Thank you for the question, Chair Arascata. We think it's a conservative estimate, as we've been advised to do for this committee, to make sure
Smart.
that we hit our targets. And we're excited to, talk about our Department of Psychology, which is a really thriving program with currently almost 1,900 undergraduate majors in that degree. And because this program will have a very applied focus, and many of those students are interested in pursuing applied careers, we think a good number of the current bachelor's students in psychology will switch over. And so it could easily exceed 100, but there'll be a lot of people eager to get this more focused applied training that will be offered through this degree program.
Thank you. And lastly, just please accept my strong compliment under the next section, section H, hotel. The strong compliment under this section, describing the qualifications of all the faculty members. Very impressive. Very impressive. So thank you all very much. Any other questions, comments from the dais? Oh, quick comment from Regent Brown.
Thank you so much, Chair. Regent Brown, for the record. I have had the opportunity to come to the practice and see the impact of seeing the students or the children coming in and out. And I just want to say we are very lucky in Southern Nevada to have this. And I'm excited that your reach will be even bigger with these next agenda items because you already provide so much service and so much good, and I'm just excited that it's going to be able to scale. And you're wonderful. I've talked to your donors; they think you're wonderful. I've talked to the parents in the lobbies; they think you're wonderful, and everybody in the clinic. So I just want to say thank you, and thank you for presenting this. And I appreciate the questions because we learn even just a little bit more. So thank you.
Well stated. Thank you very much. Without any hearing of more questions, comments, I'm gonna introduce is there anybody that would like to make a motion today?
I would like to make a motion to approve the BS in Children Behavioral Health Psychology.
I'll second.
Is that
Batista.
Aaron Batista? Regent Batista? We have a first by Regent Brown and a second by Regent Batista. Any follow-up questions? None hearing. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carries. Well done. Dr. Well done. Dr. Eva, just placate to us. How many years you been a clinical psychologist?
Well, I came here 33 years ago to help start the PhD program in clinical psychology that we're proud to kick off in 1999 at UNLV to match our great colleagues at UNR.
Thank you. Excellent. We are going to move on to agenda item number 4. Program proposal for a Bachelor of Science in Sports Hospitality Management at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. And this time I'm going to go to interim president.
Thank you. Interim President Chris Heavey, for the record. Thank you, Chair Ira Scott and Vice Chair Downs. We're excited to add this also to our portfolio. And for this one, I'm going to hand it off to our terrific Senior Vice Provost and thank her for her incredible service this last year as the acting provost, including stewarding this process to its completion hopefully today. And we also have our terrific Dean of Hospitality, Dean David Cardenas, if there's any specific questions. So Provost Corrigan, or Senior Vice Provost Corrigan, thank you.
Thank you, President Heavey. Good morning, Chair Arascata, Regents, Chancellor McNair, and colleagues. I am Kate Corrigan, Senior Vice Provost at UNLV. So sports has long been a key part of the Nevada workforce and economy. So I thought I'd start with a fun fact today before we propose what will be, I think, a game-changing degree. In 1949, Nevada legalized sports betting, and this really started what became a decades-long investment in the sport economy in Nevada. And the global sports economy, as you all know, is rapidly growing. That industry is estimated to be worth about $2.3 trillion and continues to grow every year, as does demand for workforce. This is part of a key part of what's called the experience economy, right? Where people prioritize and value live events, travel, hospitality, and collecting experiences more than things. And we know this has been a global trend for quite some time. Now, as a world-class destination for hospitality and entertainment, this trend is even more accelerated in Las Vegas and across Nevada. For example, we expect more than 12% job growth in this industry nationwide, and the predictions are that it will be higher in Nevada. Nevada welcomes, Las Vegas specifically, more than 2.5 million sports visitors these days who spend about $3.5 billion in our Southern Nevada economy. This has an overall economic impact of about $5.7 billion, and that continues to grow. So I say this by way of introduction because we are here today asking for your kind support of a new Bachelor of Science degree in Sport Hospitality Management that will be housed in our world-class #1 ranked College of Hospitality. This will be, as I mentioned, a game changer, and it also meets Nevada's system of higher education strategic goals. So I want to focus on a couple of these quite briefly, just to introduce the degree. The degree is built around students' success, and one of the key ways that we know we can support not not just student admission, but retention and progression and completion of degrees, is to embed high-impact educational practices and wraparound support services. This degree innately does that. So for example, all students will have a sport internship as a requirement as part of this program, and it will culminate with a required project as a culminating experience in their fourth year. These kinds of embedded experiences will help not only support their academic success, but prepare them to be competitive and have a successful career after graduation. Now, access is quite important, of course, to NSHE and to UNLV. And this program is again designed from the beginning to promote access. So we have structured pathways, for example, which provide multiple on-ramps for students to enter this program. This includes a great articulation with our tremendous partners at CSN, pathways for credit for prior learning for students who come back to enroll in this degree and have relevant industry experience, that will deliver this program in a highly flexible set of formats. So courses will be delivered in person, but there will also be hybrid and online options so that we are meeting students and learners where they are. And we are embedding career preparedness in the curriculum from the beginning. So we feel like this all leads to the third and most important priority, which is meeting the workforce needs of Nevada. So as mentioned, this program is designed as a direct response to a rapidly expanding sector of the economy, and that is the sports economy. And the convergence specifically of professional sports, live events, hospitality, all of these together have driven the need and the relevance for this degree. Now, you might be wondering then who will enroll in this degree. And so we have been doing research with our own students, both prospective students who express interest in our hospitality programs and those currently enrolled. We conducted this research with students in 2024 and again in 2025. We found that in 2024, 36% of prospective students said they would apply to or transfer into this degree program should it be approved by the Board of Regents. We also found during the recruitment cycle that there were more than 100 prospective students who specifically inquired about a sports management pathway in their hospitality degree. So we take these as tremendous indicators of not just workforce demand, but student interest. Beyond existing students, this program is designed specifically to attract not just first-time college students, as we've discussed, and community college transfer students, which will be a key part of our enrollment, but career changers and non-traditional students for whom we will look at credit for prior learning. We will network widely in the sports community. We have tremendous faculty who are already nestled into sports teams and the sports economy and, of course, hospitality. We will focus also on student athletes and aspiring sports professionals as an academic complement to their athletic skills and experiences. So with all of this, we are projecting our first fall semester. Should this be approved today, we would allow students to transfer into this program as early as this fall, with new admins to the program beginning in January of 2027. We are expecting 25 students in our first fall semester cohort. In the third semester, we're projecting 50, and in the fifth semester, we are projecting 75. I will say we do like to underpromise and overdeliver. We actually anticipate significantly higher enrollment based on other programs around the country and the amount of demand and interest we've seen already. So I want to thank Dean Cardenas and our incredible faculty and staff and hospitality who have worked very long and very hard to envision this, this degree and to build it with input from faculty all over campus. I also want to acknowledge Dr. Nancy Lowe, who is a longstanding faculty member at UNLV. Nancy started our intercollegiate and professional sports management master's program many years ago. Many of you in the room may be familiar with that group of faculty and that tremendous master's program. And that master's program and those faculty have now elected to move to the College of Hospitality so that it provides an undergraduate to graduate pipeline for students who are interested in an advanced degree in sports management. So it aligns very nicely as a pathway. So I want to thank all of those folks for their hard work. So just to wrap it up, I would say that the proposed Bachelor of Science in Sport Hospitality Management represents, I would say, a bold and timely and strategic response to the evolving demands of Nevada's workforce and economy. And I respectfully welcome your questions and request your support today. Thank you.
I may be stealing your comment of under promise and over deliver. Is that what it was?
That's it.
Well stated. I know the chair downs to my left has a question, please. Vice Chair, did you have a question? Oh, Regent Brown.
Thank you, Chair. Regent Brown for the record. So I really appreciate the setup, and I think in Southern Nevada we really took on the sports and entertainment capital of the world very quickly.
Yes.
Like we got one sport team and we're like, cool, this is who we are, this is what we do, and we've seen it just kind of grow from here. I think it's I was going to ask about the head count. The chair beat me to it. I think this is going to be way more popular because the Venn diagram of who could do this. It's athletes who aren't going to go professional. It's hospitality who loves sports but don't play sports, and it's everybody who just thinks this is a cool career and wants to be in the space. I just want to ask a question about, and I know the dean is very close with all the casinos and sports teams on Las Vegas Boulevard, but I am curious. Was this requested? Was this an external request of like, hey, we're seeing interest in this as the casino? I mean, because the casinos fully embrace sports. You see it in every level. This was a whole new avenue of revenue for them. And so I am just curious if this was something where UNLV it was probably a little bit of both, where it was future projecting, but also a request. And then now we're meeting what our partners want. So I'm just curious the precipice of where this came from.
Well, I would say that you answered part of the question right there, and it is both, right? We've had tremendous student interest. We've had, donor and community interest, and we have had faculty interest. And I will say this is not likely to be the only sports degree proposed by UNLV, and will likely be back as there are other sort of niches I know of faculty and students who are working with community partners to develop other things. So to the specifics, let me turn it over to Dean Cardenas.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the question. Appreciate the opportunity to share. The answer is yes. The initial request, though, was from students. So the students really wanted that, and they talked about that. However, conversations with the casino, I was meeting with Bill Hornbuckle last week, talking about this degree and saying, he was talking about how it's needed, that there's a growth in that area, and there's a lot of investment from MGM in this area, and the leadership is not there. And actually, the leaders that are running it for MGM are hospitality grads. So they have the hospitality aspect of it, but they don't have the sport. And that's just one example of many.
Well, I'll just say I really appreciate the forward thinking and really capitalizing on the business behind sports, because I think that's what's going to take it just from an exciting Stanley Cup game to, actually making more money for the economy, which is what we need at the end of the day. So thank you.
Regent Del Carlo.
Thank you, Chair Scotta. I just want to thank you for bringing this forward. I think, Kate, you really summed it up. You said this is bold, timely, and strategic. And I know in the briefing paper it said it tied into your strategic plan that went into effect this year. And what I really appreciate about UNLV, Interim President Peavy, when you were provost, you guys are always looking at the next what the workforce demand is. And that's why I like this committee so much, because we got rid of programs that are no longer desired and needed, because every day our lives are changing. And yes, it's so exciting that Las Vegas is the sports capital of the world now, but I'm a Nevadan, so I take pride in that too. My husband and I have watched every one of the hockey games. We're really rooting on the Golden Knights. I mean, I live in the lake, but that's still our hockey team because they're in Nevada. And I just think it's just really great you're doing this, meeting the demands of the students. And, if I could go back 50 years and start all over, this would be really an exciting time, because nobody knows this, but I was the first announcer at the ballpark, female, back in the late 60s, but there was no doors open for women in those days. So, I mean, this is really great. I'm really happy about this, and you've got my full support.
A baseball announcer? Yeah. That's awesome. All right.
You need to start announcing us when we come to the room.
Right?
Gonna give her the microphone more often. I'm going to continue to ride the wake of my two colleagues. On the bottom of page 6, under strengthening other programs across the campus, this is a huge compliment because the holistic approach, infusing the colleges of education, the business school, the public health, and the Brookings Mountain West and Lindsay Institute, and the UNLV Career Services, and Student Life strengthens each of those programs. That was so well done. When reading it, when you infused all of those into the one program, huge compliment. So thank you. So we're going to be moving on right now. Is there a motion on the table?
Yes, Chair, I'd like to
I'm
make,
sorry. Oh, please go.
Yes, I'd like to make the motion to approve the BS in Sports Hospitality Management at UNLV.
I'll second it.
Regent DeCarlo with the first, Regent Brown with the second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed? Thank you all. Well done, UNLV. Good job.
Thank you so much, and go Knights, go.
Big time. All right. As I mentioned earlier, we're really going to be trying to stick to time as close as possible. We're going to move on to agenda item number 5, the program proposal for a whole new program, a psychology, Doctor of Psychology in Clinical Psychology. Where is our clinical psychologist? There he is. I know, we have one in the room. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair Arascata, Vice Chair Downs, members of the board, and Chancellor. Delighted to be here. Chris Heavey, Interim President of UNLV, bringing forward a new doctoral program in psychology, UNLV, the PsyD program. And as I said, I came here decades ago to help start the PhD program in clinical psychology. And that program has been very impactful since its beginning in 1999, along with the program at our sister institution, University of Nevada, Reno. But both programs are small by their nature, only graduating usually fewer than 8 students per year because of the research-intensive nature of the training. The PsyD degree was created in order to have a higher volume and more professionally focused level of training. And so this program came to being essentially starting in a meeting that Dr. Michelle Paul and I had with Richard Whitley from the state, where we talked about the need for more practitioners who could deal with children who were exposed to opioids in utero, and the tremendous wait list in Nevada, as we've acknowledged, due to the shortage of providers here. In fact, the wait list that can often run several years in length for people with this children-focused expertise in clinical psychology. And so the state awarded us funds from the opioid settlement agreement, and in collaboration with Stacy Weeks, Brian Knutson, also Rochelle Wynn, Chris Carney, in the Department of Psychology. And then Michelle Paul took the leadership in developing this program and has hired a terrific new director already for the program, Erica Hanna, who is with us today, who played a pivotal role in writing this program proposal. And so this will be a higher volume program, which we expect to enroll 20 to 25 students per year in a more cohort-based and professionally focused training model. And again, it will focus on children and children with neurodevelopmental issues, meeting a key workforce shortage in the state. And this we'll acknowledge will be a higher cost program than the PsyD programs. And so we will come forward with a differential fee proposal for this program in the December meeting, according to the regular board schedule of when differential fees are proposed. But this program will be quite affordable compared to other programs that are offered around the country because there's such value to this degree. There's often a $75,000 a year price tag on these types of degrees in programs that exist around the country, and we'll come forward with the total cost far below that. And with the people receiving this training in Nevada, we're hoping that many more of them will stay in Nevada to help meet this dire workforce shortage that's been acknowledged. So with that, happy to answer any questions. And again, we have Dr. Michelle Paul and Dr. Hanna here, who have been intimately involved in developing this proposal, if there's any specifics that you'd like to delve into.
Thank you, Dr. Evie. And you answered my very first question was after hearing of this proposal and reviewing the cost estimates beginning on page 39 and the estimation and the resource requirements, it sounds that a fee differential is going to be necessary. Looking at the budget of this program on page 39, it is It's an expensive program to run, but also it's going to be beneficial to the entire Clark County, the state of Nevada, and something that we unquestionably require here in the state, our mental health services.
Yes, thank you for those comments, Chair Escada. As I mentioned, we did receive already about a $700,000 grant from the state through the opioid settlement funds to help us with the program planning. And we've already dedicated several state-funded lines to hire the director and assistant director of the program who were already in place to shepherd this process through its completion. So it'll be a combination of some differential fee that'll help support some new faculty who'll need to be brought on board with, including, and in addition to UNLV using its state-supported budget for adding positions to support this. I'll also note that this program will be offered in the medical district, and we've already allocated and renovated the space for the program at the Shadow Lane campus. And so it'll be in the heart of the medical district of Las Vegas, which is an appropriate setting and close to the community-based clinic that Dr. Michelle has created through the practice.
Great location for it. One last question. On page 24 under the FTEs, approximately when will be the first graduating class with the certifications to improve the mental health of the communities?
The first graduating
Because you have the FTEs of
you want to come up? Yeah.
the first fall semester of 24.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Erica Hanna. I'm the program director for the new proposed PsyD and clinical psychology program. So our first cohort, we anticipate for a fall 2027 launch. And so they would graduate with their doctorate degrees in 2032. Their fifth year is a full-time paid internship. And we are hoping to expand the internships available through the practice as well. So it allows them to have a paid internship here and stay in Nevada. And then they would pursue their licensure shortly after that.
And did you say spring of 27 or fall of 27?
Fall 27.
Thank you. Wonderful. Any other questions from the dais? Hearing none, seeing none. Thank you both. Appreciate it. Is there a motion on the table?
I move to approve.
Thank you, Regent Downs. Vice Chair Downs.
I'll second that.
Regent Del Carlo. We have the first by Vice Chair Downs, second by Regent Del Carlo. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Wonderful. Well done, UNLV.
Thank you very much.
We are going to be moving on to agenda item number 6, the program proposal for an Associate of Science in Cybersecurity at College of Southern Nevada. Is the representative from CS? There he is. Dr. McCoy, please continue.
Good morning, Chair Arascata, Regents, Chancellor McNair, colleagues. I want to bring you to a time just a few weeks ago when the country, really the world, experienced a major cybersecurity attack in our space, in the space of Instructure and in the space of Canvas. And it was devastating. It was devastating for Instructure. It was devastating for a lot of end users. And it really illuminated for us another reason as to why we are bringing this new degree proposal to the ARSA committee. When most people hear the word cybersecurity, they immediately think perhaps of hackers and dark hoodies at 2 a.m. in a basement, right? Sort of eating Cheetos and breaking into the world's economy. And in the academic space, when oftentimes we think of cybersecurity, we are worried about one of our employees or one of our students clicking on a phishing email and then having to deal with the outcome of that decision. And unfortunately, both these problems obviously require the same sort of solution, and that's a highly skilled cybersecurity workforce. And certainly this morning, this body has been contemplating a variety of different really awesome programs that are aligned to workforce demand in today's new world. And so today I'm pleased to present to you for consideration the College of Southern Nevada's proposed Associate of Science degree in cybersecurity. And I want to emphasize throughout my opening remarks today that this is a fully transferable degree. As you are well aware, CSN, you have approved CSN for the last several years, Associate of Applied Science degrees in cybersecurity in a variety of different pathways. And as you are also aware, our Associate of Applied Science degrees are direct to workforce degrees. They're not designed for transfer. And so that has become the illuminated gap at CSN in terms of a pipeline moving on to a baccalaureate degree in cybersecurity. So this is a 60 credit degree. It's designed to accomplish two immediate goals. One, indeed, it prepares students for immediate employment in one of the fastest growing and highest paying fields in the country. Second, it creates this seamless pathway into UNLV's Bachelor of Science in Cybersecurity. This program is a result of strong collaboration between CSN and our colleagues at UNLV. In fact, the idea actually originated through discussions with UNLV leadership as they developed their cyber degree in their bachelor's degree program. So together, we intentionally designed the curriculum to create a true 2+2 pathway that allows students to complete their first 2 years at CSN and then transfer without any credits lost into CSN or into UNLV's bachelor's degree program in cyber. The workforce demands are obvious, but I want to highlight them. They are in the proposal. But the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics cybersecurity related employment is projected to grow 29% over the next decade, much faster than the average occupation. And of course, if we bring that statistic down into the state of Nevada, there are nearly 4,000 cybersecurity jobs right now in this state. The demand is expected to grow rapidly. Let's talk about wages. Average annual wages exceed $106,000 for a cybersecurity professional with a baccalaureate degree, while entry-level positions with an associate's degree begin in the $60,000 to $65,000 range. These are exactly the kinds of careers that provide economic mobility that we're always talking about for our students and meet, obviously, critical workforce needs for Nevada. So we're also pleased to have received strong support from employers and from our industry advisory curricular committee, made up of employers throughout Southern Nevada and throughout Nevada at large. Our advisory committee, which includes representatives from organizations like Amazon Web Services, Fortinet, Boyd Gaming, Every, and the state of Nevada, have unanimously supported the development of this degree, and they have emphasized the urgent need for additional cybersecurity talent here in Nevada. In fact, one statement from the Governor's Office of Information Security and Cyber Defense as they were reviewing this proposal captures, I think, the strong value in this. They described the CSN UNLV transfer pathway as a, quote, timely and strategic initiative that aligns directly with Nevada's workforce development goals in cybersecurity. Likewise, UNLV's Director of Cybersecurity Programs highlighted in his letter of support that this creates a clear, seamless pathway allowing CSN students to transfer directly into UNLV's baccalaureate program without any duplication of coursework. And perhaps most importantly, this program allows us to meet a critical workforce need while making efficient use of existing resources. You read in the proposal, there are no new facilities, no new equipment, and no major investment required in new faculty. Again, we have already been in the cybersecurity space. This is simply creating a curricular pathway for transfer. So for these reasons, Chair Escada and members of the ARSA committee, CSN respectfully requests approval of the proposed Associate of Science degree in cybersecurity with implementation as soon as this next year. Thank you.
Great proposal, thank you. Regent Del Carlo?
Just a comment to compliment you on this program too, and what was I going to say? I was thinking of while you were. It just left me. Oh, I know what I was going to say. This is a great example of our concept of systemness, to where what you design is been done in collaboration with UNLV, so every credit is transferable because every credit at any institution in NSHE should be transferable. That is my goal before I leave this board, 100%. I know we're up in the high 90s, but it should be 100%. So I really applaud you on working collaboratively with UNLV on this. Where's Kate? Kate Parpy's working, and Chris, when you were provost. I think it's great because this is a huge need for everybody, and I still hope we have some more training at the board level on all this stuff with the canvas that just happened. So good job on this one. Full support.
Appreciate it.
Great comment. Thank you, Regent Del Carlo. Vice Chair Downs?
Thank you, Chair Erscata. I want to reiterate what Regent Del Carlo had stated. I mean, this is the kind of collaboration we want to see and we like to see. So thank you for working together and creating pathways for students that they don't feel like they've wasted some of their time or that they duplicate some of their efforts. So it's I think it's a great thing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Regent Brown.
Thank you so much, Regent Brown, for the record. I wanted to ask about the credit for prior learning initiative that we've been really trying to iron out. I know when our committee had looked at the military transfers, this feels like it would be very easy to kind of dip into the heavy, service member community and get them in here. Maybe something that they didn't want because they could already go to work with their past training, but then they could take it in. So I feel like this opens a lot of doors for our service members. And I was just curious if you guys have thought about what that credit for prior learning would look like for this degree.
Yeah, Regent Brown, James McCoy, Executive Vice President, CSN for the record. That's a really astute observation, and you're absolutely right. And I'm going to give you one particular example where we have our military servicemen and women already engaged in CPL, or credit for prior learning, within this CIT and cybersecurity space. All of our courses, as applicable, have embedded industry recognized credentials. And it doesn't matter if they got their CompTIA certification in the military, or they got it abroad, or they got it at another institution here in this country. It counts. And so when they bring that paper to CSN, there's no sense in making them take that course again that already has that curricular end milestone in place. And so that's a really practical example, Regent Brown, I think is exactly what you're talking about. In other words, it jumpstarts the completion of a degree when they have already accumulated some of these industry credentials. And that's just one example. As you would expect in the CIT space, industry recognized credentials are prevalent in almost any curricular design within any course. Thank you.
Thank you. Both good questions. I'm going to just make a quick question because we have 1 minute and 23 seconds. On the bottom of page 14 and the top of 15, it identifies that this to be an affordable major to provide. So this is an fairly affordable major to acquire for the students. However, looking at page 10 on the unduplicated headcount, will the cohort size align with the first 2 years of the BS, Bachelor of Science, at UNLV?
That's a great question, and I'm going to steal a comment that has been referenced this morning from our colleagues at UNLV. We ought to get it put on a bumper sticker. What is it? Under promise, over deliver. And that's sort of been the mantra, particularly as the state of Nevada holds us accountable in new program review in years 1, 3, and 5. It's much easier to celebrate and overwin than it is to explain something where we didn't hit the mark. Now, in practicality, Chair Eriscotta, I would just say that when CSN worked with UNLV, that this body heard in the design of a computer science transfer pathway, where we had an existing AAS, or an Associate of Applied Science in Computer Science, hundreds of students in that non-transferable pathway. We illuminated, with your support, the AS in Computer Science, and literally we had estimated a couple of dozen in year 1. It was a couple of hundred in year 1. And you saw that in the year 1 new program review. So to your point, and same thing with sports hospitality, we're going to blow this out of the water. Can't wait to see the outcomes of year 1, 3, and 5. And then you're going to say, stop being so conservative over there at these institutions and really try to hit the mark. But again, it's a guessing game at the same time, right? We do all the surveys, we engage with our students, we look at the propensity of workforce outputs to see what we can have in terms of capacity. We make conservative estimates, and then we hope to over-deliver.
Hopefully those are good problems to have. We're going to move on. Are there any questions, comments from the dais?
Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the AS in cybersecurity at CSN.
Thank you, Regent Brown.
I'd like to make a second.
Thank you, Regent Batista. So we have we have Regent Brown making the first motion and Regent Batista making the second for the program proposal of an AS in cybersecurity. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed? Fantastic. Passes. Thank you all. Well done. We're going to segue over to agenda item number 7, which is a program proposal for the Bachelor of Science in Animal Science at the University of Nevada. And coming up to the podium is Provost Thompson, please.
And I'm on now. And I will start with an apology. I've had a cold, and I'm trying not to cough. So the whole time I will be trying not to cough. So you'd like for me to start over? Okay. So I'm very pleased to bring forward for your approval a proposal to establish a new Bachelor of Science in Animal Science in the College of Agriculture, Biotechnology, and Natural Resources at the University of Nevada, Reno. The program prepares students for careers in livestock production, food systems, and related industries with training in animal biology, health, and production systems. This program addresses a clear gap in Nevada's higher education landscape. Currently, the university offers an animal science track within the agricultural science major. However, students who want to pursue a full bachelor's degree in animal science must leave the state. By establishing this as a standalone major, we can retain more students in Nevada, expand access to higher education, and strengthen the state's workforce pipeline. The program leverages existing faculty, courses, and facilities, including labs, farms, and research centers, to deliver a high-quality hands-on education without requiring new infrastructure or additional funding. The program is closely aligned with Nevada's economic needs, where agriculture, especially livestock production, remains a key sector with strong demand for expertise in animal health, nutrition, and food systems. This degree will prepare students for careers across these areas while also supporting pathways to advanced study. We anticipate strong student interest, particularly from FFA and 4-H students seeking an in-state option, with enrollment projected to grow to approximately 50 students within 5 years. Additionally, we've received external support from key partners, including the Nevada Department of Agriculture and the Nevada FFA Foundation. Thank you for your attention. I apologize for getting off to a rough start. I'd be happy to answer any questions and appreciate your support going forward.
We appreciate the brevity. Regent Del Carlo.
I have a question. So
thank you.
This 7 comes before 8. So this is like a stepstone into hopefully 8, right? I mean, this is going to go hand in glove.
Thank you, Regent Del Carlo. Absolutely, students that are interested in animal science would also be interested in veterinary science. We also already have a degree in veterinary science for undergraduates.
Right.
That will also be a feeder. Biochemistry, chemistry will also be degrees for students who are looking at going into veterinary science.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I'm going to ask a few questions also. In fall of 26, first, this is all impressive, but strong compliments to the entire team who developed this program proposal. However, I'd like to hear a little bit more of the transfer agreement between the university faculty and the faculty at Western Nevada College, as stated on page 36. On the top of page 36, you identify that the catalog description on every UNR graduate program includes a link of transfer agreements, as Regent Brown just identified on the previous agenda item. So if we can get a little bit more of a background on these transfer agreements of WNC and the university.
Thank you, Chair Arascata. Unfortunately, my dean left, so I don't have any backup. But I do know that our faculty work well with the faculty at community colleges. They have gone out and met and had the discussions, exchanged emails about how to make sure there's a clear pathway for students who are interested in this degree path, who are starting at a community college and making their way into the university. And this is something that we have done for many years. And actually, my department chair is here, I forgot. So I'd be happy to have him talk about the process going forward.
Thank you. Mike Teglis for the record. So we have worked with several institutions here in Nevada as well as in Northern California to develop these transfer agreements so that students can transfer into our program, get their BS degree, and then get ready to go out and work in the workforce or go on to graduate school or professional programs. And so this has been in the works for a while. And like I said, we've been expanding our transfer agreements with multiple institutions to do so. Just as a sort of a factual thing, we did have an animal science degree here at UNR when I first started. It was during the recession in 2009, we had a programmatic review and multiple departments were closed in the College of Agriculture. And at that point is when the animal science degree was eliminated. And we're bringing it back mainly because people want to have that animal science on their degrees. It means a lot to have that written down on their degrees when they graduate.
Thank you. I know Regent DelCarlo brought that on to make sure the transfers from the colleges up to the universities.
Right.
Going down to page 45 and 46, and I've asked this on a previous question that was answered by the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. Will the fee differential be required for sustainability of this program?
Thank you for the question, Chair Arascata. We have no plans for differential fee to support this program.
Short and sweet. All right. Question from Vice Chair Downs.
Thank you, Chair. This is not a gotcha question, but I'm noticing that I'm glad that the Chair brought this up about the WNC agreement. How long ago did you put this together? Because the person you have listed there hasn't been in that role for a couple of years.
So we've been working on this for several years, and that was a mistake that was inadvertently left in.
Okay, I just didn't know if it's like you've been working on this since, I don't know, 2023, and so that's.
It has been a long time. There was several sort of obstacles we had to overcome in order to get to this point, but we're glad to be able to be here now.
Okay, thank you.
No more questions to the dais. I'm going to introduce a motion on the table. Regent DelCarlo.
I'll make the motion to approve the BS in Animal Science for UNR.
Is there a second on the table?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Regent Batista. We have a motion from Regent DelCarlo for approval, second from Regent Batista. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much, Provost Thompson. Get comfortable up there. We're going to move on to agenda item number 8, which is the School of Veterinary Medicine, the University of Nevada. University of Nevada requested approval to begin the accreditation process and the search and hire of the planning for the Dean of the School of Veterinary Medicine. This is big. Go. Let's hear it.
Thank you, Chair Arascata, Vice Chair Downs, and members of the ARSA Committee. For the record, my name is Jeff Thompson, and I serve as the Executive Vice President and Provost for the University of Nevada, Reno. And I'm hoping that the presentation comes up.
SCS, you're available to put these slides up? You do not have them? We have ours on our agenda, so if there's a way that we can find a way to get them up. But in the meantime, Provost Thompson, if you can kind of get your way through this, all right?
Yes, Chair Arascata, I will start, and I know you have them in your agenda. So I thank you for the opportunity to present our request to begin the accreditation process and the search and hiring of a planning or founding dean for a School of Veterinary Science. At its core, the university's land grant mission is about access, service, and opportunity, ensuring that the people of our state can learn, work, and contribute in Nevada. I'd like to briefly share the story of one of our students because it illustrates exactly what is at stake. Madison Hampton has wanted to become a veterinarian since she was a child. Today, she's working part-time at Petco, gaining experience, staying connected to her goal, and doing everything she can to build a future in animal care. But Madison's path has not been easy. She enrolled in an out-of-state veterinary program in Oregon, but ultimately made the difficult decision to leave. And her story is not unique because the cost was too high and the distance from home created additional challenges. Many of our students face the same barriers when pursuing specialized professional degrees that are not available in Nevada. What is unique is what Madison did next. When she heard there might be a possibility of a veterinary school in Nevada, she took the initiative to find the provost office phone number, and she called us directly. She asked a simple question: how can I help? How can I be involved? That kind of initiative speaks volumes. Madison believes in this vision. She wants to stay in Nevada, build her career here, and serve her community here. And she's not alone. In her words, as soon as I saw the news, I was so excited. I immediately told my parents, and I wanted to reach out. I would love it if there was a vet school here. I wouldn't have to leave the state. This is the essence of our land grant mission. Establishing a veterinary school in Nevada is not simply about adding another academic program. It's about creating pathways for students like Madison, students who are committed to this state, but are currently forced to leave it to pursue their goals. It's about strengthening Nevada's workforce, particularly in rural and underserved areas where veterinary services are critically needed. And it's about fulfilling our responsibility to serve the people of Nevada by aligning our educational offerings with the needs of our communities. Today, I bring forward an opportunity to make that commitment real, to invest in our students, to serve our state, and to ensure that when students like Madison raise their hand and say, I want to stay, I want to contribute, we can say, you can do that here. So Madison's story is powerful, but it is also part of a much larger reality. Despite the vast agricultural activity and large urban cores across the western United States, there are relatively few accredited veterinary schools serving this region. The demand for veterinary education and ultimately veterinary care far exceeds the current capacity to train new professionals. This is not a regional observation, it's a national concern. A recent USA Today article highlighted exactly this issue. There's a growing shortage of veterinarians across the country, driven in part by the limited number of veterinary schools and the training opportunities available. Simply put, we do not currently have the educational infrastructure to meet workforce demand. This proposal directly addresses that gap. A veterinary school at the University of Nevada, Reno would create a pipeline, educating and retaining veterinarians to serve Nevada and the broader western region and beyond. It would strengthen access to care in urban, rural, and underserved communities, support our agricultural industries, and ensure that students trained in Nevada have the opportunity to remain and contribute to the state. And importantly, this is not just about local needs. This is the promise of this investment to expand capacity, to meet demand, and to position Nevada as a leader in addressing one of the country's most pressing workforce challenges. And the next slide, please. Or if I have control. Thank you. This proposal is the result of deliberate, thoughtful, and sustained process. For nearly 10 months, our university leadership has been actively engaging with peer institutions across the country to better understand what it takes to successfully launch and sustain a veterinary program. This has included site visits, operational reviews, and in-depth conversations with established programs. We've also engaged one of the newest accredited veterinary schools, Texas Tech's University School of Veterinary Medicine. Their approach, particularly in serving communities and aligning education with workforce needs, has provided valuable insight as we shape a program tailored to Nevada. In parallel, we have been in conversation with key stakeholders across the profession in our state. We have engaged with the American Veterinary Medical Association to understand accreditation expectations and national trends. We have consulted with state and regional partners, including organizations such as the Humane Society, as well as veterinary practitioners in both northern and southern Nevada. These conversations have reinforced a consistent message. The need is real, the demand is growing, and the opportunity for Nevada is significant. We've explored innovative partnerships that reflect the breadth of veterinary medicine today. For example, we have engaged with Liberty Dogs, a service dog training program to better understand opportunities related to working animals, training, and community impact. Together, these efforts demonstrate that this proposal, although conceptual, is grounded in research, informed by best practices, and shaped by the voices of those who will ultimately partner in its success. The next slide, please. In addition to the demonstrated need and strong external engagement, we're building from a position of institutional strength. We have a solid foundation in place through our existing faculty expertise, related academic programs, and campus facilities. These position us to thoughtfully and strategically develop a veterinary program. We're not starting from zero. The creation of a School of Veterinary Science is an expansion of strengths we already possess. Veterinary medicine is deeply connected to public health. The work of veterinarians extends far beyond animal care. It intersects with disease prevention, food safety, environmental health, and the well-being of communities across our state. The development of the program would allow us to further integrate veterinary education in our broader public health mission, preparing graduates who understand and contribute to this critical intersection. Our ability to reach the entire state is a defining advantage. Through our cooperative extension, we already serve Nevada's rural and frontier communities, providing education, resources, and support where it is needed most. That existing statewide network creates a powerful platform to extend veterinary education, training, and services into communities that are often underrepresented. Together, these strengths, our foundation, our public health alignment, and our statewide reach ensure that this program would not only educate students, but also deliver meaningful impact across Nevada. The next slide, please. It's important to emphasize that this proposal is not limited to Reno, Washoe County, or even Northern Nevada. The University of Nevada, Reno's footprint is truly statewide. We own and operate more than 14,000 acres of research and agricultural land across Nevada, providing a living, working laboratory that spans diverse climates, industries, and animal populations. This includes our newest facility, the Equine Center in Clark County, which further extends our reach into southern Nevada and strengthens our capacity for hands-on learning. The statewide infrastructure is a significant advantage. A veterinary school would directly connect students to these environments, linking them with animals, ranchers, researchers, and practitioners across the state. Would create immersive learning opportunities that reflect the real-world conditions graduates will encounter in their careers. Students would not just learn in classrooms, they will train in the field in partnership with the communities they will ultimately serve. Next slide, please. I also want to briefly address the financial framework and planning approach for this proposal. We're presenting today is an initial cost estimate. As you know, with projects of this scale, the complexity costs can and will vary depending on the model ultimately selected. We have been intentionally exploring multiple models, including a traditional hospital-based model, a community-based distributed model, and a hybrid approach that is a blend of elements of both. Each of these models carries different implications in terms of facilities, operations, and long-term sustainability. At this stage, we're remaining purposely flexible, but we know that a veterinary school with a teaching hospital provides the gold standard of veterinary education. What is clear at this point is that the primary cost driver will be the facilities. Excuse me. The specific model we select will determine the type, scale, and location of these facilities, and therefore the overall investment required. This is why this phase of the work is so critical. It allows us to move forward, refine our approach, and bring back a more detailed and fully developed plan that reflects both strategic priorities and fiscal responsibility. Next slide, please. I want to emphasize that this effort is not one the university will undertake alone. We are committed to providing attainable, competitively priced veterinary education with tuition rates comparable to those of veterinary schools across the West. We've already had encouraging conversation with donors who have expressed strong interest in supporting the initiative. While those discussions are in the early stages, they signal meaningful philanthropic potential and confidence in the vision we are putting forward. Equally important will be partnerships with the state. To ensure long-term success and sustainability, this effort will require alignment between the university and state leadership, reflecting our shared commitment to workforce development, public service, and economic growth across Nevada. Additionally, we're well positioned from a facility standpoint to begin thinking strategically about how this could take shape. Our new life sciences building will play an important role, either by directly providing space for elements of this program or by creating flexibility elsewhere on campus to accommodate the needs of a future veterinary school. Taken together, these factors, philanthropic interests, state partnership, and facility planning make a veterinary school viable in our state. I apologize. Next slide, please. Our timeline for this initiative is ambitious, but the need is real. We believe Nevada cannot afford to wait to address the growing demand for veterinary professionals across our state and region. With that in mind, our goal is to move forward deliberately but aggressively. At this stage, we are targeting enrollment for our first class in 2029 with the first graduating class in 2033. This timeline reflects both the complexity of developing a high-quality accredited veterinary program and our commitment to do so in a way that is thoughtful, strategic, and aligned with best practices. This is an aggressive path, but one that has been created through meeting with the newest accredited veterinary school program and the AVMA and understanding clearly what it's going to take to bring this forward. But this path also matches the scale of the opportunity before us. I want to thank you. And the responsibility we have to meet the needs of our students, the workforce, and our communities. Next slide, please. So I have a clear and focused request for you today. I respectfully ask for your approval to move forward with two critical next steps. One, to allow the University of Nevada, Reno to begin the accreditation process. And two, to initiate a national search to hire a planning or founding dean to guide this effort. These steps are essential to initiating a long and detailed accreditation process with the possibility of a first class graduating in 2033. We're committed to maintaining a high level of engagement with the Board of Regents and the Nevada System of Higher Education throughout this process. This will remain a transparent and collaborative effort, one that reflects the scale of the opportunity and the responsibility we share in getting it right. And for my last slide, next slide, please. I showed this slide at, there's one more slide. There's a photograph on display at Clark Hall. I showed this image previously, and before I conclude, I would like to add some historical context. This is a photograph of Tube Pietra Calanta Lad, who is a prominent registered Holstein bull known for his celebrity Holstein Friesian lines. He took top honors at the California State Fair. Someone asked me where this was. I thought it was in Reno, but it's not. In 1911, bringing recognition not only to the university, but to the state of Nevada. For generations, the University of Nevada, Reno has been tied directly to the agricultural, animal, and community needs of this state. A school of veterinary medicine. Thank you. I have a lot of people helping me. I appreciate it. A school of veterinary medicine is the next step in the University of Nevada, Reno's history and the legacy of the state of Nevada for generations to come. Thank you, and I would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. We do appreciate you powering through that presentation. We're going to start off with Regent Del Carlo.
Thank you, Chair Escada, and nothing worse than a summer cold. But I'm very, very excited about this. When I came on the board, one of our newly elected regents, I think he may be listening in, Patrick Boylan, mentioned a veterinary school. And at the time I thought, there's no way. There's no way. And here we are 6 years later, and it's on the agenda. And that is so exciting. And I have to say, I'm one of those who lost a family member to the state of Ohio because we didn't have a veterinary school. She was a pre-med major here at UNR. Great, graduated and no vet school, and she got accepted at Ohio State and never came home. So I can't wait to have this approved. My questions, I know you're looking at the different models, and I'm understanding that there's 28 gold standards with the hospitals. And I do remember when I went back for her graduation, I was living in Atlanta at the time, she took us completely through the vet school, through the where they did surgery, and they had a mortuary or whatever. They had it all. It was different. I'd never seen anything like that before. It was great. At what point will you, I know we're giving approval to get the dean to get things started, but at what point, and I know you're working on the philanthropy part because it's going to be over 100 million, say, probably to do the gold standard with the hospital. I would prefer that. And I looked at slide 4 of the ones that are around us. Do all of those have hospitals? Are they a hybrid model, or are they community, or do you know on that?
Thank you for your question, Regent Del Carlo. Most of the state-supported veterinary schools in the West are hospital-based.
Okay, because I wouldn't think we as a state, why should we shortchange ourselves over dollars? Because a dollar invested today is worth way more down the road too. And I think about if we had done this when I first came on 10 years ago, wow, we'd have it open and we'd be humping them out. But So I'm really glad about that. So I am very, very supportive. We've got a lot of public comment on it. We have all the infrastructure in place for this with, as you stated, you know, the Cabner and the degree we just approved, plus all the life science, all of it is already in place. So this is just a matter, it's a big step forward, but I'm really supportive, and I think this will be a wonderful addition to our state that we really need a veterinary school in the state of Nevada. We all in this room have pets, dogs, cats, horses, some of us, fish, all of it. And it'd be nice to, and especially for the rural areas, to be able to bring veterinarians out there. And one of our regents, I don't know if people know this, but Regent Gogachia's son is the state veterinarian, JJ Gogachia. So I think it's really cool. Full support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Regent Del Carlo. Regent Downs. Did you have something? Nope.
Sure, I'll comment. I think this is a great idea, and I will say I have a neighbor who did go abroad for a veterinary school because there's nothing local. I don't know all of her justification. I do wonder how many students we do lose every year to other states and may not return with those talents afterwards. Thank you.
Regent Brown.
Thank you, Regent Brown, for the record. My colleague, Regent Del Carlo, kind of touched on this, but, and in your presentation you did too. I'm sure there will be donors that come out of this that want to pay for it, and this is clearly a much needed thing for our state. Your map on the page 4, I believe it is, that showcase we're kind of like a hole in the middle of the western states. But I am curious, have you received any grant funding to seed this initiative?
Thank you, Regent Brown, for the question. No, we have not sought any grant funding at this point, but certainly we have been talking with agencies, federal agencies, about ways they could support the initiation of a veterinary school going forward, and there are opportunities that we will pursue if we are given the opportunity to move forward with the process.
Okay. And then I wanted to kind of ask, I know in my briefing with President Sandoval, we talked about the licensure process and it's quite extensive. And I'm assuming getting the dean on is kind of the first step to that. Would it be fair for us at this committee to expect dean gets hired, start the licensure process, start applying for grants, and then by the time 2029 comes along, hopefully everything's approved, we're here, we maybe have some grants to the door, we'll definitely have some donors, because it kind of gets into my next question of like, to pay for a program, it's state dollars and it's tuition. I'm assuming, will you need a differential fee to cover the cost of this program?
Thank you for the question, Regent Brown. Certainly as we go forward, there are a lot of avenues for us to find support for a School of Veterinary Medicine. And I will first by stating that for the record, we will come to you with updates constantly about where we are as we hire a dean so they can bring forward. I mean, there's a curriculum to be developed. There's hiring of faculty. There's a lot of things that we will have to do before we're accredited. But to your question, we will come forward with a fee structure for veterinary education, similar to the one we have for medical education, where we will be looking for to make sure we're competitive regionally and nationally for in-state tuition so that it's affordable. Also be able to bring forward what scholarships we will have available at that time for students who are applying to make sure it's also accessible. But part of the operating financials will be what is the tuition base to operate the school going forward. And we will certainly come forward for your approval when we get to that point.
Okay. Yeah, because I didn't see in the briefing materials how many you thought you'd get the first year. And I don't know if it's because 2029 is a lifetime away. But I just didn't, I was trying to, if let's say all of them are in state at $34K with a dean at 200, I was trying to do the math and figuring out we are going to have differential fees. And even if you are going to come back to the committee, personally, I would have just liked to see tentatively it might be a differential fee of X or something on here, just so we can make a fully informed vote. I mean, that doesn't discourage everything that's needed in this thing. I feel like there needed to be maybe a little bit more information in the presentation. And then my last question, I'm assuming this is going to be housed in Life Science Building?
Regent Brown, thank you for the question. It would not fully fit in the Life Science Building. We will be, with the Life Science Building being completed, we have other labs and spaces available. We already have labs and spaces available also in Cabner that can be for dual use. But it also depends on what model we're going forward. I mean, if there's a full teaching hospital, most of the education would be taking place in a teaching hospital. For a community-based model, it's much more distributed. And so having teaching labs in areas that look like a biochemistry lab or a chemistry lab, or we have those facilities already available.
Okay, so based off of how this actually unfolds, then where and how it actually gets executed will be determined at a later date.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And I think on the slides, you had 3 or 4 iterations of the exterior of a building of where it's going to be. So numerous options are available. Excellent. Thank you very much, Provost Thompson. I know there's a motion on the table to my right. Please, Regent Del Carlo.
Thank you. And I just have one other comment in the future too. I know when we have the School of Medicine, it shows the tuition at the different schools, and I would figure you would add that too, just to show you how competitive we would be. Would be great, because I appreciated the $34,000 per year tuition for in-state, 65 for out-of-state. So,
Yes, Regent Del Carlo, we know the in-state and out-of-state tuition for all the Western and all the national schools.
yeah,
And so
future.
we will come forward.
I love the future, and with that, I'm going to make a motion. I'm happy to make this motion to begin the accreditation process and the search and hire of a planning dean for the School of Veterinary Medicine for the University of Nevada, Reno.
Thank you, Regent Del Carlo. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Regent Downs. Thank you both. So there is a first and a second to begin the accreditation process and the search and hire the planning for the dean for School of Veterinary Medicine at the University of Nevada, Reno. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Well
Thank
done.
you.
Thank you, Provost. Next up is agenda item number 9 is the handbook revision of intellectual property. We've heard a lot about this today. And acting Vice Chancellor of Academic Affairs and Student Affairs, Renee Davis, will present this for approval of a proposal of the revision of the board policy. Please, Ms. Davis.
Thank you, Chair Arascata. Renee Davis, Acting Vice.
I apologize, Ms. Davis. Vice Chair Downs needs to make a statement.
Thank you, Chair. Pursuant to NRS Chapter 281A, I hereby disclose I am an employee of NSHE at WNC because the independence of judgment of a reasonable person would not be materially affected by my situation. I will vote on this matter.
Thank you. I apologize for interrupting. Please continue.
No problem. Renee Davis, Acting Vice Chancellor for Academic and Student Affairs. And so the item you have before you is the same item we brought forward for information in March. So nothing has changed in this proposal. I won't go into as much detail as I did last time, but I'll key in on the area that has had the most discussion around it. And this proposal really is looking at a change in the distribution of income from commercialized intellectual property. And I'll mention also that we have the Research Affairs Council members here and in Las Vegas to answer questions if we need to get into the nitty-gritty. But essentially, the proposal sets out this percentage. So for personnel who develop the intellectual property, the inventors, 40%. For the academic department or unit of that faculty member, 25%. The institutional central fund, 15%. And then the new part of this, aside from the changes in the percentages, is the institutional proof of concept fund. And that proof of concept fund really is intended to help invigorate those early days of research. So there is support for faculty who want to work on new ideas and innovations. So I will, with your permission, Chair, I'll leave it at that because we did go into detail, but I'm more than willing to answer questions, as are the RAC members. Oh, actually, I'm sorry. One more thing I failed to mention was that, as mentioned in the public comments, this proposal really has had a very broad vetting across the institutions, across the system, through the Research Affairs Council, through the Academic Affairs Council. So it has been one of the most extensively vetted proposals that you've seen come forward in quite some time. So I just wanted to recognize that because there have been some delays in moving forward with this. And I would reinforce the message of one of the commenters this morning, which is, I think it's really important that we respect the shared governance process, and it really has come through the process. And so I urge your support for this proposal.
Thank you, Ms. Davis. And I'm gonna follow up on as you teed off, hearing from the research facilities, research institutes. So I think it'd be greatly beneficial for this committee if we could please hear from the VPs of research of the 3 campuses, potentially the business officers of those campuses, and I see a couple of them have left. And if the academic officers or the chair of the faculty senate, who we heard from this morning, were available and have an opportunity to speak, that would be wonderful.
Good morning. For the record, Vic Etchemisan, Vice President for Research at DRI. I just wanted to kind of reiterate what Ms. Davis was saying earlier. The proposal has been through our faculty senate, and they had no objections to it, and it's also been vetted with our business offices, also with no objections. So definitely would support this going forward.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Chair
This is Dave Hatchett from you. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, David.
This is David Hatchett from UNLV. I would reiterate what has been said, that this went through a vetting process at UNLV that included faculty senate, faculty in general, the business officers, and it was a testament to shared faculty governance that we took on this process. All of our stakeholders were in favor of this proposal.
Thank you, Dr. Hatchett. Dr. Gautam?
Chair Escada, Vice Chair Downs, Regents, Chancellor McNair. For the record, my name is Nurul Gautam. I'm the Senior Vice President for Research and Innovation. I have nothing more to add to what my illustrious colleagues have already said, and what the Chair of the Faculty Senate said, and what Chair of NEVRIC said this morning. This has been a long process, and it puts us right where the rest of the country is on the median. So thank you very much.
Thank you. And Dr. Gautam, while you're up on the podium, just out of curiosity, in regards to both current and past faculty members, how many have been awarded intellectual property with receiving revenue?
Oh boy, go back 150 years. So, okay, I'll a few things I have on my fingertips. So if you look at 2020 to 2025, 5 years, right? In 5 years, the total gross revenue generated was about, I would say, $2.6 million. And that came from 21 faculty members only. That means out of 678 faculty members we had in 2023 to 610 now, only 21 faculty members. They're the ones in any group who will go out and do what they have to do. They're those who are in the middle who need some help. So we had 21 faculty members bringing $2.64 million, of which one had a share of $1.2 million. Of that, we had some expenses and then there's a net. The distribution that was made between 2020 to 2025, the money that went back to the inventors was about $1.4 million. And that was to 51 inventors. Now, of course, we're making distributions to those who did something in 2000, 1999, 2012, but we distribute money only to 51 faculty members. That is $1.4 million. I hope I've answered your question.
Impressively, yes, you have. And just to follow up, so as you stated and what's been stated by your colleagues, so the academic officers, the Research Affairs Council, the Faculty Senate of each research institute, and the chair of chairs, Jennifer McClendon, who was here earlier, Dr. McClendon, excuse me, all are in agreement with this new distribution. Is that correct?
Correct.
Thank you, sir. We're going to go to the dais. Question from Regent Del Carlo.
Oh, I don't have a question. I just want to say how great I thought the collaboration that was mentioned this morning in comments, all the positive public comment we received. I was really pleased to see that you have a proof of concept fund. That's something I don't believe we had before. And I really respect shared governance. And when things are so well vetted that you bring forward, I'm speaking for myself on the board, but it makes our job so easy. I mean, this is like a slam dunk. So thank you for all the hard work over the last 2 years. And when it is a collaborative process and not everybody gets everything they want, and our country's got to get back to doing that too, but it is a process where you have to compromise and you have to give and take, and you walk out of the room when you agree to something, you walk out and you all agree to it and you all embrace it. You don't badmouth what you didn't get. So I really am appreciative of the work that has been done for all the stakeholders, and this affects us statewide with UNLV, and thank you, David, for your comments too. So this is, you made this vote very easy. Thank you all.
Thank you, Regent Del Carlo. We're going to go with another comment from Regent Downs, followed by questions with Regent. We're going to start with a comment from Regent Downs and questions from Regent Brown. Regent Downs?
Thank you, Chair.
Vice Chair, excuse me.
That's fine. So I'll be honest, I was a little hesitant on this. I probably have a different, almost opposite reaction than from a different direction than Regent Brown. Don't want to speak for Regent Brown though. That's to see it go from 60 to 40. I was a little uncomfortable with that. Then I did hear an interview on the radio or on a podcast. Anyway, that someone was. I know it's not directly related to this, but where there were some proposed drugs for healing kids, and they couldn't get the Valley of Death, as you described it. They couldn't pass that because there's no proof of concept funds for it, and they had actually crowdfund to get the money to start that process. And so I think, I don't know into what range of research this is, may not be that, but I can see the benefit of this, especially after hearing in a practical application as that was. So I'm really glad that everyone's come together and agreed to a fair distribution of these types of funds. So thank you.
Thank you, Regent Brown, for the record. So I just want to share that when I first got on this board, it was Chancellor Urquiaga. Sorry, I just promoted you.
Vasco's.
And I told him I had 3 things I want to do and and commercialization of the tech transfer project was one of those things. So in my day job, I run a nonprofit for startup ecosystem in Southern Nevada, and I help our founders actually go and get commercialized IP and use it for their so I'm very, very well versed in this. In fact, I had reached out to President Acharya, and we had early calls. This was ever before I knew I don't think I was on ARSA, right? This was just something that I knew I wanted to do. I also kind of drafted a first plan of what I thought this could look like years ago. I think my frustration is that you and I with UNLV and DRI have been on multiple calls, And I believe that you have misled the conversation that we've had and the conversation you've had with the chair. And that has created rifts on this board. And luckily we had conversations offline, but that's what my frustration is. This distribution, I'm not going to die on this hill. Do you want to do a 40, 25, 15, 20? I personally think from all the other, institutions I work with around the country, it should be 35, 25, 20, 20, but I'm not going to die on this hill. But I am going to say for the record that I do not appreciate the way this is unfolded and how him and I have had two very different conversations with you. And it is frustrating for me.
Are you talking about me or
Yes.
somebody? The conversation was, can you please give a reference for that, please?
Yeah, we had a call, Vic and Zach, TRI and UNLV were on the call. And we talked about, I said, look, I do think it should be 35 personnel and then 20 academic unit, 20 for the central fund, because that gives the institution more leeway to go after and get the researchers that they want. You can offer more percentages. It just gives you more, it sets our institutions up for success in the long run, right? And then obviously I love the proof of concept because I think it helps. And all three of you, we would love that. We can't do it because we've commercialized it or we've socialized these numbers. This is what our people want. This is what we're going to, but we would love it. We would love it if we could do that. It'd give us more. And I said, look, I'm happy to say it in the meeting. I'm happy to have this be a conversation that we can have on the board, all of that. Then I speak with the chair and he has been told the exact opposite by you. There's no way we could do this. Oh, I would never. That's exactly what I want. And I just don't appreciate where we've been put in this situation.
Myrtle Garden, for the record, Regent Brown, I've got tremendous respect for what you've done, what you do. We still work together on multiple issues. We have maintained a 40%. The chair of the faculty senate is here. This process started 2.5 years ago. It's a public meeting. At the last meeting of the Board of Regents, I said, would I like 20%? Absolutely. But there was a trust that was developed with the faculty and everybody else. 35% would put more money into the proof of concept. And I maintained that with Regent Arascata. He's here, but 40% was the equilibrium. That we all, a defensible equilibrium that we all decide upon. A defensible equilibrium, which I didn't quite explain last time, is when you have competing objectives of institution. You've got to reward the inventors who are coming up with the technology and they want to make disclosures and get into entrepreneurship. Then you have the colleges and the departments that have to be supported. Then you have the tech transfer office that has to be, that it should grow and it has to be be sustainable. And then you have the university priorities, whether it's a proof of concept fund, whether it is the shared research facilities, those are competing objectives. So a defensible equilibrium is where the faculty senate, the academic officers, the provost, everybody came together on the 40%. Plus this was the median from 50 universities we saw, plus the mean was about 45 from the publication of Malak and Shankerman from 2008, which was in the RAND journal, which referenced a previous paper in the NBER, National Bureau of Economic Research. They all talked about a mean of 45.7. We decided 40. So I've always maintained, I'm on the record from last time, the decision is yours. I don't vote. Vic doesn't vote. Debbie doesn't vote. We would, when you go 30%, yes, it's more money for the proof of concept. However, it undermines the faculty trust. It undermines the conversations we've had over the past several years, and that's where I stand on this one.
I guess my follow-up, Regent Brown, for the record, is that, thank you for those numbers. 21 people have commercialized their IP, which is awesome. But how many people get paid to research on this campus? Right? I still stand that if the 60% didn't just blow our numbers up, then 40, I'm glad that's not the contentious part right here, lowering it. But I think for me, it's like, not all researchers can and know how to commercialize their intellectual property. If they did, they'd be doing it, right? It's hard to do that. And so that's actually that's why I want to protect our institutions, which like, I feel like this is just a really crazy place for me to stand, because all I'm trying to do is actually help our institutions commercialize what they're already paying people to research, paying for the IP, paying for everything. And now we're actually going to try and use that or try and take that and use it into the real world. And if everyone thinks that they can do it with 15% of whatever potential money might be coming in, okay. Like I said, I'm not going to die on this hill, but I am going to have this conversation out loud, because doing all this research does us no good if we don't actually commercialize it and try and make some money, right? We can all be really proud that we have R1 institutions, but if we don't actually make money from being an R1 institution, then it is literally just something we slap on letterhead. That's what we're supposed to be doing. And I know that puts a lot of pressure on you, which is why we want to get this right. But I'm just telling you, this is where these numbers don't make sense to me in all of the institutions that I work with. And I see what they're doing and the amount of work that they put out to try and commercialize what they're paying to patent, so the patents just don't sit in a drawer. I just don't feel comfortable that we're going to see success in the ways that we should and we could. So.
Thank you, Regent Brown. Thank you, Dr. Gotham. Any other questions, comments from the dais? Is there a motion on the table, as this is a possible action item?
I move to approve the handbook revision for intellectual property.
Thank you. First by Vice Chair Downs.
I'll make the second, Regent Del Carlo.
Second by Regent Del Carlo. Fantastic. If all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much, Dr. Gotham. I know that this has been on the agenda a couple times. First was originally it was going to be for a possible action a few months ago, but now it was reverted over to information. Today it's on for possible action, and thankfully it has gone through. So we are going to be moving on to the financial aid report. Agenda item number 10. And here we go.
Okay. All right. Good morning, Ashley Salisbury, Director of Student Affairs for the record. Thank you, Chair Arascata, and members of the committee for the opportunity to talk about financial aid today. We prepare this report each year for several important reasons. Highest among them is the belief that financial aid helps students pursue higher education, and no student should be prevented from attending college because of financial barriers. Financial aid expands access and supports student success across Nevada, and while this report fulfills board requirements, it also provides an opportunity to examine financial aid in our state and consider how it compares to national trends. Let's begin by looking at financial aid across all NSHE institutions for 24-25. In total, $789.3 million in financial aid was dispersed to students system-wide, an increase of 21.4% since 2020-21. This funding directly supports students' ability to afford college, including both direct educational costs such as tuition and fees, and indirect costs like housing, transportation, and books. And throughout the remainder of this presentation, we'll break this down in several different ways, including by institution, aid category, and funding source. All 7 institutions within the system award financial aid, with the largest share of disbursements coming from UNLV, followed by UNR. Comparing to the prior year, 6 of the 7 institutions experienced increases in total aid dispersed, and over a 5-year period, every institution has seen growth in total financial aid disbursements, reflecting the continued expansion of financial support available to NSHE students. The slide provides a snapshot of the racial and ethnic diversity of financial aid recipients across NSHE institutions for 24-25. The data show that aid recipients reflect the diverse student populations served throughout the system. Hispanic students represent a significant share of recipients at several institutions, including NSU, CSN, and TMCC, while other campuses show broad representation across multiple racial and ethnic groups.
Overall, these data highlight the broad reach of financial aid across NSHE's diverse student populations. This data compares the percentage of financial aid recipients registered with the Disability Resource Center and to the percentage of the overall enrolled student populations registered with the DRC at each institution. Across NSHE institutions, we see generally comparable proportions between these two groups with some variation by campus. For example, UNR shows 8.3% of aid recipients registered with the DRC compared to 10.6% of enrolled students, while WNC shows 4.7 compared to 6.4. These data highlight that the relationship between student support services and financial aid access across the system and the importance of coordinated outreach to ensure students are aware of and able to utilize available resources. Over the past 5 years, we have seen an overall trend upwards as the maximum Pell Grant amount has increased over the years. So has the average disbursement amount. In 24-25, approximately 36,700 NSHE students received Pell Grants totaling $188.8 million system-wide, with an average award of about $5,140 per student. It is important to note that not all students receive the maximum Pell Award. Award amounts are based on financial need as determined through the FAFSA and enrollment intensity. Students enrolled less than full-time receive prorated awards based on their credit load. And when compared to national data, NSHE's average Pell Grant award remains generally in line with the national average. Over the last 5-year period, total student loan disbursements have declined by 15.5%, with a small increase of 0.94% from the prior year. This trend within NSHE is consistent with national patterns, where student loan borrowing has also declined over the past 5 years. While loans remain an important resource for students to finance their own education when needed, this downward trend may also reflect increased access to grants and scholarships, which help reduce the reliance on student borrowing. Across NSHE, financial aid offices continue to support students through loan counseling and financial literacy resources to ensure students make informed borrowing decisions and long-term student success. This slide provides a breakdown of the total loan disbursements by institutions from the prior year. System-wide, loan borrowing remained relatively stable overall, with some institutions experiencing modest increases and others decreases in both dollars dispersed and the number of borrowers. It is also important to note that the vast majority of these loans are federal student loans, which offer students important borrower protections and repayment options that are generally not available through private lending. Financial aid includes not only federal programs, but also state-supported programs. In 24-25, these programs awarded $142.9 million to more than 65,000 students across NSHE. The largest program is the Regents Higher Education Opportunity Award, also known as Access Aid, and is funded through two sources, fee-generated and the state operating budget, which combined provided $74.9 million in assistance, accounting for 52.4% of all state-supported aid. Under NSHE procedures and guidelines, at least 80% of the undergraduate access aid funds are to be awarded based on financial need. In many cases, the institutions award up to 100% of access aid based on financial need, reinforcing the program's focus on supporting students with the greatest need. As noted earlier, financial aid consists of several categories, including grants, scholarships, loans, and work study. Grants and scholarships generally do not require repayment. Grants are typically need-based, while scholarships are often merit-based and may also consider financial need. Loans may either be need-based or non-need-based, but unlike grants and scholarships, they must be repaid after a student leaves school, although some forgiveness or deferment options may be available. Work study differs from other categories because it provides students with part-time employment opportunities while enrolled, with a portion of wages funded through financial aid programs. And I really would like to take a moment to let this slide sink in. For the first time in more than 2 decades, grants represented a larger share of total financial aid awarded across NSHE than loans. This is an incredible milestone and one that we should really celebrate. Grants accounted for 34.5% of all aid awarded and experienced the largest prior year increase, growing from 20.2%. This shift reflects continued growth in grant and scholarship support and a reduced reliance on student borrowing. On the screen, you can see the various aid programs and the sources from which they are funded. The primary sources of financial aid include federal, state, institutional, and private funding. Federal aid requires a completed FAFSA application, while state and institutional aid may also use FAFSA information. Private scholarships and awards may or may not require a FAFSA and often involve a separate application process. Federal aid continues to represent the largest source of financial aid across NSHE, accounting for 58.8% of all aid awarded. However, that percentage has steadily declined over time and is significantly less than it was in 2014-15, when federal aid represented 71% of all financial aid awarded. The growth in state and institutional aid reflects Nevada's continued investment in student affordability through programs such as the Governor Gwynn Millennium Scholarship, Nevada Promise Scholarship, Silver State Opportunity Grant, and institutional aid programs across NSHE. Together, these programs help diversify financial aid opportunities for students and reduce reliance on federal funding sources alone. There are two primary categories of financial aid: need-based and non-need-based awards. You will notice there are several awards that cross over into each category. Depending which type the award falls into, that will determine the method of awarding for each student by the financial aid office. From 2015-16 through approximately 2021, we saw a gradual decline in the proportion of need-based aid awarded across NSHE. This trend was influenced in part by reduced borrowing of subsidized federal loans, which are need-based, along with increased utilization of non-need-based aid programs and scholarships. In more recent years, the distribution between need-based and non-need-based aid has remained relatively stable, with non-need-based aid representing approximately 59% of total aid and need-based accounting for nearly 41% in 24-25. Overall, these data reflect the evolving mix of financial aid resources available to students across the system. I'd like to briefly explain how a student's cost of attendance is determined. In addition to direct expenses such as tuition and fees, students incur indirect costs, including housing, transportation, books, and supplies, and personal expenses. Financial aid offices combine these costs to establish a student's cost of attendance, which serves as the maximum amount of financial aid a student may receive. Cost of attendance is also used alongside the FAFSA information to determine a student's financial need and eligibility for need-based aid. In the interest of time, I will quickly move through these slides. Each campus develops its own cost of attendance estimates based primarily on enrollment level and living arrangements, following federal guidelines established by the U.S. Department of Education. The examples shown here reflect the cost of attendance for full-time students living off campus, on campus, or with parents. And I'll briefly revisit the FAFSA, which is the primary application used to determine eligibility for most financial aid programs. Students can complete a FAFSA online through studentaid.gov, and there is never a cost to apply. Financial aid offices across NSHE also provide FAFSA workshops and one-on-one assistance to support students and families through the process. The FAFSA typically opens each year on October 1 and uses tax information from 2 years prior to determine eligibility for aid. The FAFSA uses a federal methodology to calculate the Student Aid Index, SAI, formerly known as the Expected Family Contribution, EFC. Student need is determined by subtracting the SAI from the cost of attendance, which helps financial aid offices identify the types of aid a student may be eligible to receive. Remaining need is then calculated as the cost of attendance minus SAI minus total financially received, and the goal is to reduce this remaining need to zero by packaging additional aid where possible. To help students understand their eligibility, financial aid offices provide tools such as net price calculators on their websites and individualized financial aid award letters. And what you see here is a simplified example of a financial aid offer. While actual award letters are more detailed and individualized, this provides a general overview of the information students receive from a financial aid office. The offer includes the student's cost of attendance, their student aid index derived from the FAFSA, and the various forms of financial aid for which they qualify. After grants and scholarships are applied, students may then consider loan options to cover any remaining need. I do want to point out that this is used with sample figures only intended to demonstrate how the different financial aid components come together. And as we conclude the presentation, I want to briefly highlight several significant changes occurring at the federal level that may impact students and institutions moving forward. The federal financial aid landscape continues to evolve, particularly following the passage of the One Big Beautiful Bill Act and other ongoing federal policy discussions related to higher education affordability and student borrowing. Several proposed and enacted changes focus on Pell Grant eligibility and funding, including the introduction of workforce Pell Grants, which would expand Pell eligibility to certain short-term workforce training programs. At the same time, there continue to be national conversations surrounding long-term Pell Grant funding and sustainability. We are also monitoring changes related to the federal student loans, including new borrowing caps, the elimination of the Graduate Plus Loan Program, and how aid is awarded to part-time students, and updates to repayment plan structures. These changes could significantly affect how students and families finance higher education, particularly graduate and professional students. As these changes continue to develop, NSHE institutions and financial aid offices remain committed to closely monitoring federal guidance, supporting students through transitions, and ensuring students and families continue to receive accurate and timely information regarding their financial aid options. And with that, Chair Arascata, I appreciate your time, and thank you to the members of the committee for allowing me to present to you today, and I will be happy to take any questions.
Fantastic. Ms. Salisbury, if I could, you don't get up on the podium very often, but you crushed this. You did exceptional.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Exceptionally well. That was very well done.
Thank
Are there
you.
any questions on the dais? Regent, go ahead. Let's go with ladies first. Regent Brown.
Thank you so much, Regent Brown, for the record. I had a question about slide 10. So I think this is the breakdown. We don't have they're not labeled at the top of our slides, but I think it's the breakdown of the different types of aid, financial aid that we give. Are there, am I remembering, we have about 130,000 students in our system, approximately?
Approximately.
And so we're saying that half of them get financial aid, but I wanted to ask, can one student be in more than one of these categories?
Ashley Salisbury, for the record, if we're looking at slide 10, is that the state-supported program disbursements? I want to make sure I'm looking at the right.
I believe so, yeah. We don't have it's not labeled at the top on our slides for some reason, but yes.
Okay, I think if I counted correctly on my notes here, we're looking at the state-supported program, and that slide specifically looked at all of our state programs that we have. There are various federal programs, but as far as the state-supported ones, well over 65,000 students received state funds.
So as a clarification, if I am a student that gets the Millennium Scholarship, and can I also get the Silver State Opportunity Grant?
Correct.
So is this number, just so for my situational awareness, is this only counting each student once, or potentially can the same student be counted on multiple lines here?
They could be counted in multiple lines because we're looking at each of the award categories.
And then I wanted to ask about the Millennium Scholarship. I was lucky enough to receive it when I went to school. Grateful, because that's how I got to school. How much does it give now?
It depends on the institution that they are attending. The universities are $80 per credit. Nevada State is $60 per credit, and our community college are $40 per credit.
And what was it for you?
85% of my tuition.
Oh my goodness.
And then UNLV scholarship me the rest, so thank you. Okay, so, and I am actually just really, and I know this comes down to budgets, and I've talked to the treasurer about this before, and they are continuously trying to, so if it's 80, 60, 40 for the credits at the different institutions, it actually makes me sad that only 24,000 students get access to this. What's the GPA requirement? I know I'm asking very specific about.
It is a 2.75 to maintain eligibility.
Oh, but then to actually get it out of high school?
3.25.
Oh, they low. Okay. Yeah, I'm shocked that only 24,000 either qualify or, and this is just who qualify or who like sign up for it.
What we presented are the students who actually received it.
Who actually received it. Okay. Thank you. It's so funny. Yes, it was 20 years ago, but still, it's interesting. So thank you.
Not all of us start college at 13 years old. Anyhow, we're going to go to Chair Down. We're going to Vice Chair Downs, and then to Regent Del Carlo.
Thank you, Chair. Threw me off a little bit there. On your illustration on, looks like what we have, slide 23, we're talking about lower need, 4-year institution, lower need, and 2-year institution, higher need. This is just an example of like a snapshot scenario. my understanding. So, I mean, I'm curious, though, earlier you referenced 1,500 students using the Nevada Promise. I think it's 1,500, not 15,000.
1,500.
Yeah, so is that limited to 1,500 students, or is that just those who take advantage of it?
Those were the students that met the eligibility criteria and were awarded for that particular year.
Okay. Is there a cap on the number of students who can use that?
No, we have allocation of funding for the biennium, and so we award students who meet the eligibility.
But do they ever expend all those funds?
It has happened previously. Perhaps if Renee can provide some insight on the history of that.
Renee Davis, Acting Vice Chancellor for Academic and Student Affairs. So there have been 2 times when the money hasn't been sufficient to cover all students, and one was shortly after the budget cuts from the pandemic. The state cut $1 million out of the Promise account, and that following academic year, we were short about $350,000, and at the time, the board made a temporary revision to policy to allow more latitude in the need and non-need basis for the access aid. So access aid was used by the institutions to cover about $350,000. And then this past year, and Ashley might have to help me remember, but I think it was around $60,000 short that CSN covered out of their, I'm not sure if it was access or just some other institutional funds. So we are skating really close. We work really hard in conjunction with the treasurer to do a projection that's reasonable. We don't have any carryover funds from year to year anymore, so every time it's a new ask for funding. So we're actually working on that projection that will share through the finance department with the treasurer's office right now, which it's one of those things where we're pulling our hair out because we know we can't ask for an excessive amount of money because then it might not, be approved, but yet we want to make sure there's enough to cover all students who qualify. And one other thing I'll mention about the students that Ashley reported on, those are students who were awarded funds and didn't have other gift aid because the Nevada Promise is last dollar. So if, for example, a Pell Grant student at Western Nevada College, if they get full Pell, they won't get Promise, even though they might have met all the eligibility requirements because it's the last dollar. So if this were a first dollar program, it would be a much bigger dollar amount and a higher number of students who would get funded.
Thank you, I appreciate that. I know that my experience with Nevada Promise is that there are a lot of steps that high school students have to take and the college students have to do to maintain that scholarship, but I think it's very worthwhile. I wish more students would pursue it. Thank you.
Very much so. Regent Del Carlo.
Thank you, Chair Scott. I have a question too. I knew that the qualification for the Governor Gwynn Millennial Scholarship was 3.25. I didn't realize, I was reading in the briefing material and then it came up when Regent Brown had her questions, but I didn't realize to keep eligibility, it's lowered to 2.75. Has that always been low? I always thought the 3.25, or I know when this started many years ago, it was like 3.0, and it was with the tobacco settlement money, and as that fund went down, the board has raised the GPA to so not as many students are eligible, but was it always that much lower to keep your eligibility?
Ashley Salisbury for the record, I believe so. And the distinction with the Millennium Scholarship as far as maintaining eligibility and the GPA requirement, that is a semester GPA that they must maintain, not a cumulative GPA.
Okay, thank you for that. Because I'm thinking like, that's about a B minus, C plus, what is it? 2.75.
That sounds about right.
I haven't been in
I'm
school
not
for
up
a
to
long
date
time.
on mine.
So,
but yes.
Regent Brown, for the record, as someone who experiences it, is a C plus GPA for a semester.
Still passing.
Oh, that was magna cum laude.
Thank you, Regent Del Carlo. Any other questions, comments? Ms. Salisbury, I'd be happy to see you up here more often.
Thank you very much.
Very well done, exceptional. We are going to move over to agenda item number 11. Is the 24-25 Sponsored Funding Annual Report. Director of Nevada System Sponsored Programs and EPSCoR, Marcy Jackson. Haven't seen her in a while. will present highlights from the 2024-25 NSHE sponsored funding annual report.
Hi, good morning. Marcy Jackson for the Director of System Sponsored Programs and EPSCoR. Going to give you the highlights of the annual sponsored programs report, which is in your materials. This will cover the period from June 1st of 2024 to, July 1st of 2024 to June 30th of 2025. And these are the extramural funds that our institutions bring in to help support research and other scholarly activities. And since most of you have been here before, we will go through some of my highlight slides very quickly. All of these sponsored programs, which are grants or contracts, they support the current strategic plan goals that we have here for the system as a whole. This slide shows our 5-year totals of incoming awards, and this focuses on the awards that come in per fiscal year. And of course, in 2021, we had a huge influx of COVID pandemic response funding that we dealt with. The blue bar is our standard funding, and the red bar is the COVID awarded funding. And we had a little bit of a blip where our standard funding went down during the pandemic, and then we were on an upward trajectory for a couple of years. And unfortunately, in fiscal year 25, we did go down again by 12%. And that was partly due to the changes in the incoming administration that changed funding priorities at the federal level. 5 of our institutions showed decreases in 2025 in new awards. So our funding distribution varies by our institution mission and their size. Our 3 research institutions do receive the majority of sponsored programs funding, but our state university and our community colleges all bring in funding as well to support programs at their institutions. We always highlight on this slide how much we've received in direct federal funding, because that helps show that our institutions are competitive trying to get money to support the Nevada institutions. We received $188.5 million in research funding in fiscal year 25, with a total award of $406.5 million, which was a decrease of about $57 million from fiscal year 24. So each of these next slides will highlight for the institutions their new awards that they brought in. There's more details for you in Appendix A that shows the new awards separated by the categories that are listed here of research, instruction, public service, student services, other, and scholarships. Appendix A also does show expenditures, which is important when you're talking about grant awards, because you may receive a $5 million award in 1 year, but it's a 5-year project, so you're spending that money over the course of 5 years. So that's detailed in Appendix A. And then Appendix E also shows their 5-year history by these categories, if you're interested in that. So while the slides are up, what I generally do is give you a couple of highlights of actual grants that these institutions are working on. And due to time today, I will just do one highlight per institution. UNLV had a decrease of $34 million in awards in fiscal year 25. One of the highlights for one of their new awards that they received was a high performance computing award from the U.S. Department of Education. For UNR, there was a decrease in new awards of $16 million. Their main highlight was the renewal of the Nevada IDEA Network of Biomedical Research Excellence, or NBRE program, which is funding to support infrastructure development of biomedical research in states that have typically been underfunded. And through this program, UNR works with institutions across the state. DRI had an increase of $2.4 million. They continue to receive the majority of their funding from the Departments of Energy, Commerce, and Defense, or War. And one of their major projects was the Green Box programs, which I think you're all familiar with, received new funding from the EPA to focus a module on the microplastics in the Great Basin. And that is designed to get out to 6th to 8th graders to talk about stewardship of the waterways here in Nevada. NSHE saw a reduction of $4.7 million in awards, and they had a great program that was funded by the the National Science Foundation called Mentoring to Accelerate Retention and Change Outcomes in Science, or the MARCOS program, helping STEM students in workforce development. And 71% of those students who had MARCOS scholars were graduated in 4 years, 71% compared to 23% of other biology students. For CSN, they had a reduction in $7.8 million in awards. They continued their work that we've talked about before with 2 colleges in the Pacific to sample 10 new sites in Hawaii to contribute to research about forever chemicals in the surface waters. And they did this during a typhoon watch, no less. Kind of strange for little desert rats. GBC had an increase of $2.6 million in new awards, and a great portion of that was from the Tech Hub, $1.8 million, and also $1.4 million from Dieter, and state match from the Tech Hub for the building expansion in Winnemucca for 2 new programs and expansion of existing programs there. Oh, I was behind, sorry. TMCC had a reduction of $554,000 in new awards. They received funding from the Governor's Office of Economic Development Wind Fund to support the Lithium Loop Apprenticeship Program. I've stumbled over that one a couple times when practicing. They had support from their major industry partners, including Tesla, Panasonic Energy, and Hamilton, to increase the workforce training capacity through a new 4-week program. For WNC, there was an increase of over $1 million in new awards, and they received some congressionally directed funding from HRSA, which is being used to expand the nursing program by 50% in Fallon. And this is going to allow the students to complete all of their work and their testing at the Fallon campus. So those are just a few quick highlights. I hope that when you visit the campuses, you get to hear more about the great work all of them are doing with this extramural funding. This slide shows our intra-system collaborations. These are projects where one of our institutions has received an award, and they subaward funds to our other institutions to work collaboratively on projects. And on the far right column there, you'll see System Administration Office does have the highest number of those sub-awards, but that's a function of our office at System. We facilitate these statewide awards that go out to multiple institutions. Proposals submitted in fiscal year 25, unfortunately, submitted, awarded, and the amount awarded all did go down in fiscal year 25, related a little bit to what we talked about earlier and what we'll touch on here in a minute. Also, at System, we received state funding to provide the required cost share to some of the federal programs, including NSF EPSCoR, NASA EPSCoR, NASA Space Grant, the Department of Education, and to support the EPSCoR infrastructure. And these funds, a lot of it goes out to our institutions via competitive process, where they ask for money for seat grants, for scholarships, and for fellowships and internships. And so the funding matches the federal awards and goes out to our institutions that way. So this is the new slide that we talked about a little bit last year, but we couldn't get into it because we were talking about fiscal year 24 at that point. But you were all on the board when the new Trump administration came in January of 2025, and they decided to implement some cost-cutting procedures for federal assistance programs and went to review existing programs and sent termination and cancellation or suspension notices to our institutions on topics that they felt were not in the best interest of their administration. So I think all of you experienced the Benny Regents Regents alerts that went out during that time. And so we wanted to do a snapshot for you. This is from the period of January 2025 to June of 25, the number of awards that were suspended or terminated and the amount of money. And it's separated by those grant categories that we have on the other slides. So this was a time of great turmoil for all of our institutions. Even though every institution didn't receive termination notices or a large number of termination notices, it affected the grant community across the state, across the nation, because we were just very uncertain on what was going to be next and how to respond, because it was unprecedented for that sort of action to be happening. And there were many, many hours that our faculty, our leadership, our research administrators put into responding to each of these waves. And I think it's a real testament to the strength of our institutions and our faculty that they've continued on and they continued writing proposals, because what really matters to all of us is our students, and we will do what we need to do to support them. So that is outlined in a little bit more detail for you in Appendix I. It's separated by institution and what sort of cancellation notices we had. So at this point, we're still being affected by this. Things have calmed down quite a bit, which we're thankful for, but there's still reduction in force at the federal level that is affecting the number of solicitations that come out that our faculty are able to compete for, and also slowed down how quickly funding is coming to our institutions. So we'll see in the next year's report what fiscal year 26 shows for the changes that have been implemented there. So overall, we received $406.5 million in awards in fiscal year 25 through a lot of work and a lot of dedication from our faculty and all of the research administration and grant staff that work with them. And I'm open for any questions.
Any questions from the dais? No. Ms. Jackson, you always do a great presentation. Very thorough, very direct, very well descriptive. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we look forward to this next year.
Thank you.
Thank you much. So we are going to be moving on to new business. Are there any suggested items of new business for consideration for a future meeting? None heard. Excellent. We're going to move on to agenda item number 13, public comment. Is there any public comment here at the University of Nevada? None seen. SCS, is there any public on the phone?
There are no callers at this time.
Perfect. Before we adjourn, I want to identify that sitting to my right, and I asked her to come up and sit here today, unbeknown to her. This is Acting Vice Chancellor Renee Davis's last meeting as she flies into the sunset. You have, wow, that is a way to highlight. Yes. Ms. Davis has been an instrumental part of the Nevada system of higher education and academic research and student affairs for multiple years. Thank you. And with that, RSO is adjourned.
I got a message from the chair. The main board agenda will start at 11:45.